Well, hello. Another blog hop. This is pretty cool. I'm not absolutely 100% sure how everything works yet, but I do know that I can record pretty things and talk about it. And my mates at CraftStash are keeping me right on how it's going. So yeah, yay, brilliant. So pleased to be part of this one, and super pleased that the lovely Lou has passed to me one of my favourite things I've discovered in CraftStash, and these are these fantastic, gorgeous inks. The textures inks, and absolutely right up my street. Watercolor inks, winner, winner, chicken dinner. That like got my name all over these. Fantastic, love them. You've got 5 in the set. This is the urban set, which is the kind of muted colours, but you say muted, but wait till you see how pretty they are. Big bottles, they've got a dropper in them. We're going to show you how to use them. And what I would say before you do anything, any colouring product that you purchase, big tip is make yourself a colour chart, because I bet you would have no idea if you look at that all those colours were in there. They look like black, blackish, bit black, browny black and black. So those are the colours. Definitely do that. Now, what I've done as well, as I don't know if Lou's seen this, but you know, every now and again the planets align and I have a good idea. And my good idea was put a little sticker on my jar, because you can actually see if the light shines through that is the red colour, the pinky colour. But on the darker ones, it's hard to see if it's brown or black. So what that little sticker, I've just coloured it with the colour of the ink. Now, I'm going to come back to those very soon, because what I thought we would do is, you see me stamp and we colour in, and you see how that works. Hopefully we do that quite a bit. But what I thought would be fun would be to show you how you could draw something. Now, it's the same process that I would draw for stamps. However, I'd be doing exactly the same thing, but I'd be using my pencil, as in Apple Pencil, and my iPad, drawing on the screen to then create a stamp. But I thought we would draw directly on a piece of watercolor card, a block, so you could see if you want to have a little bit of try this at home, and I'll give you some tips and tricks on how you can start that, because you know, you might be better than you think. I bet you are, because most of you, once you kind of just chill and have a bit of a play, it all works out much better than you imagined. That's me optimism bit speaking there. It'd be great. But so instead of drawing on the screen and drawing it digitally for a stamp, and it doesn't mean anything else is different, it's just, well, let me show you. I'll be using this thing here. If you look on the overhead there, that's my iPad, and you can see it's covered in fingerprints. And I'll be using my pencil, my Apple Pen. I'll be drawing on the screen. Okay, whereas today I'm using this iPad just for my reference picture, because I'm going to be looking at the picture I'm going to be drawing, which is the next thing. If you want to draw something that looks realistic and looks like the thing you wanted to draw, even if it's a flower, don't assume you know what the flower's like, because you know, when you think it's the flowers are like faces, they've all got the same components. You know, you've got 2 eyes, a nose, and mouth. There's no face the same. And the same with flowers. They've got petals, stamens, leaves. But it's the little things that make that flower, particularly that flower, that make it the flower. So, for example, I drew a daffodil once, and I thought I knew how many petals it got. Turns out I was wrong. So look at a picture, look at a good picture, and if you want to follow colours, you're best off looking at a picture on a screen. We'll come to that bit later. Right, so before we do anything, it's really important, as always, that you have a good foundation. Now, CraftStash have got some fabulous watercolour cards there for you to choose. There's lots of different pads and different... Just choose and try and experiment and find the one that you think suits you. And just there's lots to choose from, so I'm not going to recommend any particular one, but you want a watercolor card if you can use watercolors, which these inks are, and they're going to work better. A good quality stamping card is also good. Next thing is to get yourself a pencil, or something that you can erase to start with. So I'm using here just a regular HB pencil or a 2B pencil, or even a retractable pencil. Now these, in some of the micron sets, one of them comes with a really cool retractable pencil, which just obviously means you never have to sharpen it, and that's all cool. So any of these things are going to work to start with to sketch the picture out. So let me ask Maria if she'll put the reference picture, and this is just a picture I took while I was out on my bike, actually, tooling along, and for a change, it's one of my pictures, it wasn't one of Maria's. Oh, how rude. Are you offended, Maria?
Deeply.
I know she might not be seeing any more filming going on now. She might have a bit of a huff. But yeah, I took this one and I've cropped it in, and I thought it would be a nice, simple, bold floral arrangement to work with. But I will say, I'm thinking it was quite simple and quick. And then I started to draw it because I already have one prepared so that you don't have to see the whole process, but I can show you how we go with it. And it's a little bit trickier than you might think. So if you look at that picture in the middle, the reason I'm thinking is, can you see all the petals? There's none of them facing straight forward. They're all at an angle for a start. So angles pose a little bit more tricky kind of drawing skill because it's a little bit more perspective thing going on. The stamens are pointing in different directions. You've got petals overlapping petals, and it's like, oh no, hang on, what's going on here? But we'll talk about that as we work through. But just really look at what you're going to draw before you start. And also, if this was a stamp, look at the stamp, read the stamp before you start to colour it in or do any of your fancy schmancy techniques on it. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to look at my piece of paper. Well, first of all, a good thing to do would be to prop your paper up a little bit. So when you're looking across, if you're trying to draw, you're looking across at a weird perspective like that. Whereas if you pop it up a little bit, you're looking at it more straight on. It's no good for you. I'm going to put it flat again. But for me, if I was drawing, that would be a much better way to draw because I'm looking straight on in the line of my vision instead of looking across as if you're looking at kind of tracks that are going to get narrower and narrower as they go away. But for the sake of you being able to see what's happening, here's how this is going to look to start with. It's going to look absolutely rubbish. That's, believe it or not, that's me starting my drawing. Look at that. Are you impressed? I bet you're pleased you tuned in for this, eh? Oh. You are actually watching this happen here live. I'm not sure if they've got anything on the recording right now, but I think we can sort that out because there was a call coming through, but I think we sorted it. So what we've got is we've got an oval. That's saying that's the way I want that space. I want to fill that space with that main kind of collection of florals. It's actually more round than oval, but I don't want to draw too many things on here already. Now the next thing I'm going to say is there's a flower here like this, like on the side, like this is flower one. There's a flower here with a petal up here somewhere coming. There's a flower on its side over here, the petal kind of there, and there's a flower that kind of overlaps this one and then kind of comes down to the bottom like this. And by the way, I'm looking at my reference picture on my iPad as I'm doing this. Now, that absolutely terrible. Not making much sense at all drawing wise, but it is going to serve the purpose for what I need pretty well to get started. So I'm going to choose a flower to start with, and this one here is quite tricky. This one's got petals that kind of come across and they come frilly like this. Now notice how I'm a bit heavier with the pencil now, and I'm going in and I'm going to come out and I'm going to draw kind of a scoop kind of shape because this petal comes in. Again, it's one of those tricky kind of perspective ones that is all kind of like a little bit quirky. And the good thing is, you see now I want that higher there, so I'm going to erase that and I'm going to draw it in again, and then it's going to come down like that. So now I've got like a sweeping petal. It's going to come up like that, round like that, down like that, and I've got the start of the shape of that flower. Now the next thing I'm going to pop in is all the stamens, and I'm going to put the base kind of here, and then I'm just doing this just to kind of give me an idea of how far out these little guys are going to go, and that's my guide for them, like that. Okay, so that, believe it or not, those are my stamens. Now please don't, just please stay. It will get better. You're probably looking thinking, what? But this is the process you will go to just for a freehand sketch to map it out. All I'm doing is I'm mapping out sort of where I want these petals to go. And it doesn't matter right now that they're a carbon copy of this one. I just want them to follow that kind of shape, which they are. So I've got that first one down in there, believe it or not. And then I'm going to pop this one here like this, and this big petal up at the top, and we'll come back to the reference and you'll be able to see where what we're talking about. And this one up here kind of goes over there and overlaps. You think you've found an easy image to draw, and then you start breaking it down and looking at it and drawing it and thinking, oh, well, I gave myself a bit of a challenge, more than I thought with that one. But all you got to do is take your time and work through it. Now, this one here, and I'm not going to do the whole thing. I'm going to show you how I would progress from one to the other. There's a big petal that comes over here from this one that's got like a frilly edge coming down to it, like that, and it goes all the way down here. And you've got another, and this one here comes across, and probably making absolutely no sense to you at the minute. And again, it's not exactly looking fabulous either, but you've just got to stay with it, have faith, keep going, and trust that this is just the very basic blueprint of what you're doing. I see Maria put that back up on there for me. Thank you very much, Maria. That does help massively, because other than that, I'm just talking about something. I could be seeing anything because you can't even see it and having a clue what I'm on about. Well, you probably haven't got a clue what I'm on about a lot of the time anyway, so nothing new. And then we'll pop that one there. So can you see we've got 3 flowers starting to come together. This little guy is going to have more little squigglies in the middle, stamens there, and it looks, until we start getting the ink on there, it's not making a lot of sense, but it will. And then that there, this is the point where I'm not worried, because I can do what I want right now with this, because it's just pencil. And if there's anything on there I really don't like, it'll erase. That's the beauty of your pencil, isn't it? So until I start using the Micron pen, which is a great pen to use, which is a permanent black fine liner, there's nothing carved in stone. So right, now that's enough there. In fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to also map in a leaf. Now the leaves on that picture aren't exactly where I would like them to be, so I'm going to put them where I want them to be. They're a little bit random. So the big leaf that was at the top, I've pulled down here. I could pop another little leaf just here that may be a little more squat, and like that down there, and maybe just put one other one here. Let's pop just one here, just coming around maybe like this, and that can go. So that, believe it or not, is the start of that drawing. Now, next thing would be to a Micron set. So a set of Micron pens. There's a great one, the Manga set, which you get that pencil, that retractable pencil in as well. And there's another one, which is this this black and gold set, which is cool too. So, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a small nib at 0.3. And I'm going to pick a flower. And I'm not going to do them all right now, because we've already said that I've got one started, because I want to show you how these fabulous inks, because we will be, if you want to see me drawing a flower in real time, go to my Facebook page and you'll see that on there there's another picture I took. In fact, no, Maria took that one, and you'll see me drawing that one from start to finish, and it's exactly the same process, but it just means that we can move on a little bit with colouring if I do this a little bit more quickly today. So what I'm doing now is I'm just basically putting some petal kind of shapes in here. Just should tell me that this is where the petals are going now. So that's there. Then I'm going to pop that base here, and then start to do a little bit. Apparently my head's in the shot again. Maria's doing our Marcel Marceau bit. Just shout, head, Douglas. Oi. It's the only time Natch is quiet. I can't believe it. So can you see I'm just putting some these little things in the middle like this, just random. Try and keep them. Don't make it too contrived and too perfect. You want them to have a little bit of movement, a bit of random factor to them, and that makes them more interesting, I think, that way too. So this is a very, very quick representation of how I would build this flower up. And like I say, I've got one I drew yesterday, because I thought if I did that again, it would save some time. So what I'm doing, I'm just making the bottom a little bit stronger lines at the bottom, like that. So we've got the center coming out now. And then, now you might change your mind about where this petal's going. I'm going to have it more, maybe a bit like that coming round, and a little bit like this, and then coming down there. So that's petals coming in the center where all those little bits in the middle are kind of hiding it. And then I'm going to put this petal here like that. And by the way, what I'm doing is I'm looking at my original reference picture all the time I'm doing this, because that's the way to get it so that it looks like what you're drawing and not just something that is just randomly made up. So let me show you what I would do with this flower, and then I'll move on to the one that I've kind of progressed with, and you can see how different that one's looking. So what I'm doing now is I'm adding a little bit of the veins in, but I haven't weighted the line at all. There's no weight to that whatsoever. So by that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at where there's little wrinkly bits where it would be folded over and where it would be naturally darker on that flower. And I'm still using that small pen, that small nib, because I want it to be a little bit quirky and ruffly. We've just been, Maria and I have just, you were all inspired by artists, different, and people in different styles. And sometimes we look at our natural style. My natural style is much tighter than this, much more precise. And this is really quite quick. But I'm trying to do more of that. And if it doesn't come naturally, you have to kind of find a way of loosening up a little bit with it and just going with it. And one way to do it, to make it look more kind of sketchy, is, can you see if you hold your pen further back, you're not going to get those precise lines like you would if you really grabbed the pen tight, close to the nib. You're actually going to, it forces you to be more loose with it. Let me do one of these leaves. Let's put that leaf there. And these leaves have got kind of like a spiky little, see the way I might follow it, but I might not. And this bit might come, I'm going to have it so that it's coming over just a little bit and then down. So now I can give it a little bit of a ruffle like that. And so what you would do is just continue like this and probably develop each flower a bit more in an even fashion. Like I've worked more on that one than I have on any of the others. I kind of neglected the others, but you would develop them and get them moving a little bit further. But what you would do is do that. Hopefully that's started to dry, and then erase all of those marks that you made that were your working out marks that you thought, wow, they're a bit of a mess. That's horrible. But you just get rid of them like that. And then when you look now, that looks so much better. And that's what I've done. And I've continued to develop it from that. But can you see how we've done that in real time together? We've got the leaf going on there. And you can see that's pretty close to that. But it's never going to be a carbon copy, even though I use the same reference. And that there now is the drawing I completed yesterday for you, ready to to play with these fabulous inks. And before we start, if you think you might have a little bit of pencil still on there, just get rid of it. Let me hold that up a little bit more for you. Can you see? So can you see how I've got some thicker lines in areas to make it more interesting? I've scribbled around, but there's loads of movement and overlapping and articulation. Little tip: daisies are easier. A 4-5 petal flower straight on, if you want to find something to start with to make your life easier to start with. This here is definitely more of a challenge, even though it's not a garden of flowers. There's still a lot going on there. So, right, the paints. Let me show you what I've done to prepare these paints. And again, it's going to all be on the overhead, to be honest. If you look here, I've popped the paints in my little cheapest chips palette here, and I've tried to pop a little bit of water where to give me an idea of what the colours are. Can you see that's red there? Because even when they're in here, it's hard to see what the colours are. It's like that magic colouring when you're a kid. So I've deliberately been messy outside the area so that if I add a bit of water, I can see what I'm working with. Right, now this is not, if I was doing a regular painting with a flower, you might think, okay, I need green for the leaves. I'm going to have maybe a pale pink flower. Well, we can go with the pale pastels, because all you do is just keep adding water and you get the pastels, so that's okay. But we don't have to stick to any particular colour palette. In fact, what we could do is just work with monochrome and then tint it later. This black is very, very black. It's really, really strong black. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a bit and I'm going to pop a little bit on my painting here and just see how maybe start with a leaf rather than the delicate flowers and just have a little bit of a play. And the thing is with watercolors is what you want to do is you want to leave some white for the paper is the highlight. So instead of having to go over with a white pen, try and be disciplined, and to give those leaves a little bit of a highlight, try and remember to not paint every single bit of this paper, and that becomes your highlight. Now we can go back to that and we can highlight it and we can darken some bits in here, which I will. The next, so that's one. So definitely start with the leaves because they're less of a challenge. If you've got really pretty delicate little flowers on there going on in there, you want to you don't want to obliterate them too quickly and make them look too strong. We want to keep it looking like it's a delicate, maybe they're white or they're pale pastel. So until you get the feel of the paper, a good idea is if you've got a bit of scrap paper, and this is for your stamping too. This is not just because it's a freehand drawing. This applies to your stamped image. Get a piece of scrap card of the same type of paper you're using, because every paper is going to act differently, and see how your paint's working on it. Every single paper you use, everything you've got in your stash is going to react differently with watercolors, and that's also the beauty of the thing as well, because you'll get different techniques and different looks with the different paints. So still with the black, I've got those ones that I'm looking at. So what I'm doing is I'm diluting it, definitely not too much water, but definitely still diluting it because it is a really, really strong black. And I'm cleaning my brush. And this is where you'll know if you've got a grabby card. If your card grabs the colour, it won't blend out very easily like this. And it's not you, it's just the card. Which is why I would say try and invest in a nice quality, good quality stamping card, great quality stamping card, or a decent quality watercolour card. Because a decent quality watercolour card will always be your best option if you're using a water-based product. Right, Maria, have you got any questions you can think of that people might be wondering?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, that's good.
I'm just watching it develop, and
yeah, we can tell when Maria's enjoying it because she's actually quiet, which doesn't happen that often, I'll be honest. So that's why I asked. I thought, was she all right? I better check in. I better check she's still there. So see, now I'm just trying to, so this one's overlapped that bit, so that's going to have a little highlight on the edge of that leaf, which I want to keep. Now this is just the first layer. I can put colours on top of this as well in a minute if I want to. So again, I'm going to go dark in here at the base where there's less light, okay, and at the bottom of the leaves where there's probably less light at the bottom here and this bit, and maybe we'll have a little highlight going on here. I'm not studying the picture at the minute. I'm kind of just making it up because I did make some of these leaves up anyway, didn't I? I just put them there so they're not where they were on the picture anyway. Now I'm liking the contrast. I like the stronger contrast. Oh, there's one more leaf up there, but we're not going to intensify that. We're not going to build on that much yet because I want to do something with the flowers and then come back and look at the overall contrast before I start getting committing to making anything darker at the minute. But I'm more than likely will want to do that. So, but right now, that's all I'm going to do is just pop this like this. If you're interested in seeing more things like this, if you want to see me draw something more freehand and then have us show you how to colour it, let me know, because you know we can do more of this. This is good fun because the thing is there's so much crossover now between you know, art and craft, that where does one start and the other one finished. We've got, you know, that your skills have improved from, I'm sure, when you first started, and you kind of we're learning watercolouring, we're learning arty skills without doing it and thinking about it. We're just playing, and so why not use those skills to get yourself a bit of paper and go, okay, I'm going to try doing a whole bit of something to pop on the wall or to gift to somebody. So we've got that petal going on there. This one here is going to be darker in here, so I'm going to pop that there. And the good thing is as well, we can come back and we can, if we want a bit of a highlight in places, we've also got our white gel pen, which I might bring into play with these little stamens and things in the centre at some point. I want that quite dark under there because it's going to be less shadow. So little bit. Oh, the secret is definitely 100% don't try and do this using a water brush, because you can't get the control with the water brush. It's going to put too much water down for you and it's going to run away from you. And with the black, if you're not careful, you just end up with everything that looks a bit smoke damaged. So you need some black, you need some shades of grey, and you want some white still in there. So that's why if you use a regular brush and keep mopping it up, you have got more control. Does that make sense? Right, so this one here, this is going to be dark in here because that's folded underneath. So I'm going to darken this little bit here, like that. And then under there, like that. And this folds over. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a thing like that. And I want that to be quite light, so like this. We were talking about, you know, when you've done this for a while, for a few years now, you know, TV and demonstrating and teaching, you kind of lose that inner monologue. So even when there's nobody there, I'm sure I talk to myself. Right, so there's one folded over there. And we will continue here with this one here. Now this one's really dark in there. This is almost black, which we're going to come back with and really darken in there at some point because it's kind of like between petals in there. And then we can just have a little bit of a, not too dark, we can come back and darken some of them. In here, let's do a little bit of a, you know, the other good thing with these, I have got, and I'm going to try it, I have a plan, and even mid demonstration and what I've planned for you, I'm changing my mind. I have a nib pen, and I'm sure these inks are strong enough to be able to go in with some detail with a nib pen, which I think I'm going to try. I think we'll have a try of that as well. What we like for time, Maria? Have it been about 3 hours yet?
Just coming up to 29.5 minutes.
Oh, that's not too bad then. Okay, for me, that's usually me just saying hello. So we're motoring, aren't we? Yeah?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll pop that there, so a little bit, and just to bring it, try and just emphasize those the veins in the petals a little bit. Like that. And then we'll do the same, just carrying on. Now I'm going to do this bit dark here, because this is where you start to see where the, you can define some areas. Now be careful if you're painting a new wet bit next to another wet bit that's already on there, because you'll get that wet into wet look and it'll diffuse and run away from you a little bit. So just be warned about that. Okay, now in here is dark, because that's where that little kind of petals overlap in there. A little bit dark there. So a little touch on, but not a lot at all, because as you can see, a little goes a long way with this paint. And then you can just simplify and bring that up a little bit, like that. Because we want to still make it look like we've got some light shining on these petals. So we're going to try to avoid, again, making everything grey. We do, because this is in shadow, this is inside where all those little bits and pieces are. But at the end, the edges, it's much lighter. So, now be careful when you're colouring in somewhere next to somewhere that is already wet, because you will, like I say, it'll wick into that bit. And you don't necessarily want that, so just be warned about that. A bit of dark in there, a bit dark in here, and it's really dark. Look at that. Wow, okay. Whoa, bit drama there. Definitely think we're going to get the white pen in the mix, Maria, because to get that so that it looks darker, I'm having to go over to give it the shadow. But I'm losing those. I tell you what we should have done, and what shoulda, woulda, coulda. No good now. If we'd thought on and had a bit more forward thinking, and I'm trying to be as quick as I can for this for you, because I know that, there's only so much time. When Lou said, how long do you want the video? She said, I don't know, maybe half an hour. So I thought, oh, good grief, that, like I say, that's me saying hello. So I didn't want to push it too much if you want to get your lives back. But what you could have done, and in hindsight I would definitely suggest you do, is go over some of these areas with some drawing gum before you do this. If I pop some drawing gum on where those little stem and the little pollen heads are at the end of the stamens, I could have preserved that, painted over it, and then just basically I would have been able to erase it and have the white card underneath, because trying to avoid them, you just really can't. You can't paint around little dots like that. You basically have to just like I say, use drawing gum or put them back in later. Right, let me see what we've got now. That's a really light one, because you've got a lot of light on there. Now, so what we can do is we can start looking at where we need to shade darker. And absolutely like that, where we've got that drama there. We do need to up the contrast if we want the drama going on. And that includes these leaves. So I'm going to go back over here like this, because it's all about the light and dark, the shadow. You want to get the contrast going on, okay? So we're being bold now. We're thinking we're going to go pastel, but nope, that ship sailed. We're going full on drama. Not like me. So we've got that now, looks like it's really dark in there, and you can start pushing some little bits back in between places where, when we said we want that really dark, like in there. But be careful when you do this, and I might be pushing my look a little bit, because that's not quite dry, and if it isn't, it'll start to wick and go into bits that you don't want it to go into. So just, that's how you control the watercolour, is if you paint some wet bits next to some dry bits, technically it should behave and not move anywhere but where you want it to move to.
Could you
that's
dry
the
it
thing.
though, Sheena?
Yeah, absolutely, Maria, I would. But again, I'm just trying to be a bit quicker on this for you so that you can, you know, see how it's coming together and still have, you know, a life left really at the end of it. So this is looking much better, I think, than up here. And all I've done is increase the contrast, and that's what I'm going to do here, like in there. I really want these flowers to look like the light isn't hitting in here. It's going to make the outsides look lighter if I make these bits look darker. And the white gel pen is going to put those little stamens back in there for me, so I've decided I'm committing to doing that. You kind of got to have a plan, you know, when like when you're masking with stamping, you have to think ahead before you do it, don't you? You've got to think about you've got to do your foreground first, haven't you? And so you've got to think on before you tack it. Well, that's the same with this. You've got to have a bit of a plan so that you can achieve it. And the good plan would have been to the masking fluid drawing gum. That would have been a good plan to start with. It's kind of just a bit of forward thinking to make your life easier further down the road. And that's where I think, you know, if you're not used to watercolours and used to how they work, it can seem a little bit trickier. But it is just, you know, forward thinking a bit, knowing the tricks you've got that you can draw on, and going for it. Right, so I don't want to do too much more there. Up here needs a bit more kind of drama going on. We definitely want to, well, this is dark in here, and I want that a little bit dark there, and this is a bit darker in the centre, because again we've decided we're going to put that in there. We're going to use the white gel pen to reinforce that, so I can do that because I know we're going to do that. So I've upped the contrast massively in this, is what I've done and what I'm still doing, and that's fine. So dark in the middle there, and then I'm going to darken underneath here, because you've got that petal is overlapping that petal, so there's going to be a shadow underneath there. And this here, let's put a little bit of a transition from that one onto there, a little bit, just to make it look like it's curled over a bit more from that one. Can you see how cool though, how intense this black is? It's so cool. I don't want to get carried away on overworking this. I'm not going to do too much more. I'm going to strengthen these leaves a little bit, make them really look like they're, you know, they're behind, and got a bit of drama going on. And what you'll find as well is any water-based product does dry lighter, so don't panic, because that looks really dark there, but I know it will dry lighter. Let me see, we'll put this a little bit darker in there, and so it's just building it up. This is what you kind of think that watercolour artists do everything in one hit and it's all done first time, but it's actually not. What they do is exactly this: they build up and add to it, and do it in layers, and work on it like that. So this here is looking a little bit, that card, I think we've just pushed a little bit on that card. If it starts to what you call pill and get a little bit lumpy bumpy, that just, you need to stop working on that bit of card, because it's not going to take any more abuse. But that's where a good quality card comes in as well. It'll take more over painting and playing with than an inexpensive card. Right. Okay, I'm going to hang up the brush. You know what I do? I'm going to do what I keep telling Maria to do: put the brush down, walk away, nothing to see. And I'm going to take my own advice and do that. So we've got a floral arrangement. This is still a little bit pale with the rest, but you know what's happening is that's drying still. And so it's going to be, it's going to dry more like these ones here. And I'm going to actually commit to doing that dark in there. And the reason I'm doing that is because I know I'm going to put the light in for the stamens with the white gel pen. So, okay, now, so what I would do is exactly what Maria said. I can get my heat gun and I can dry this like that. And we put a little bit of colour in the background. Shall we do that, Maria?
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. We can even tint these if we do it a little bit, you know, if you had kept them a bit paler, you could tint them and put a little bit of colour on top. But I think what we'll do is we'll keep this monochrome and then we'll put a little diffused hint of colour in the background. But in order to do that and have it so that it plays nicely, I absolutely need to dry this. Oh, apparently you're looking at me. I've just got a finger in the thing going, just point to that one, look at that one. How am I going to know? Just saying. You big arrows, you know, like those, Kenny Everett had those fingers that just kept pointing in like that. Look at that. Come on, look there. Yeah. Your big hands. Yeah. Right. So, it's important that that's dry. Tell you what, before we do the background, let's finish off what we want this to look like. Let's have a try that nib pen, shall we?
Yeah,
why am I whispering, Maria?
I don't know.
It's like, oh, I shouldn't be doing it. I've got a couple of nib pens here.
It's like when you're naughty at school.
It is. And I've got my white gel pen. So here's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to try and put some white into this. Now, white gel pens, sometimes they play nice, sometimes they don't. And if your card's got a tiny little bit of moisture in them, doesn't matter how much you scribble, you can't seem to get the white to come off that little ballpoint nib, can you, Maria?
No.
What is it like, eh?
But you could use gouache.
Gouache, absolutely could. And I might have to resort to a bit of gouache, which is an opaque watercolour. But let's see what we get with this. So, because a lot of you've got like a white gel pen, have you not? And this is where, again, now, if I want, I can pop a little bit of a frilly edge on these just to give it a little bit of a highlight. And it doesn't matter if you go scribbly, because it makes it look a bit cool, a bit sketchy. I'm not loving the way the pen is working. It's not playing particularly nice. Thank you very much. But can you say that's popped out a little bit more? Does that? And it'll pop out more when I get the, funny enough, the nib thing going on with the black. If it's not, like as Maria said, if it's not working as well as you want it to work, you can always resort to using the old gouache, not goulash, gouache, and popping it in like that. So what I'm doing, the plan is, just so as you know, I'm putting, and again, this is, I know it's the drawing, but this could be your stamps, exactly the same process to get the highlight and the contrast going. Yeah. We'll pop a little bit on the edge of that. So this is where you can pop a little bit of a highlight. I really do think very soon I'm going to go to the gouache and give it that a little bit of a try and see if I can get it a little bit more kind of playing a bit more. It's working better, this pen, now that the card's less damp. And it's actually a really good gel pen, so, and it's a broad nib, so I should be all right with it. It's actually, yeah. So can you see how the reason I did that black in the middle is I wanted it to look like there was shadow in between all those little stamens. But you can't paint all those lines in those shadow lines. So if you put it black and then put the white on top, it shows up more and it looks like it's going in dark in the centre. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's the contrast thing, isn't it? You're doing it the opposite way around now.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So I've put a foundation down dark and then I'm going to light because I know I'm using an opaque medium, as in the gel pen or the gouache.
And you could do it with the masking fluid like you mentioned at the beginning. I've tried doing that myself and I've found that I haven't got nice perfect little circles with masking fluid when you rub it away.
Yeah, it's a bit fluffy. Yeah, so you need to
tiny details like that.
Yeah, it's absolutely use your gel pen. I mean, you know, it's a legit thing. You'll see artists using it. It's not the way it used to be. You know, it used to be like, oh, you can't do that. That's not watercolor. You can't use gouache, and you know, yeah, you can. Watercolor artists use all of these things now because at the end of the day, you want it to look good. It doesn't matter how you got there, as long as it looks good when you're done with it. And you know, mixed media is huge now, so people are mixing mediums up and not sticking with just the one thing. You know, you could get your pencils onto this, a pastel pencil if you wanted to give it a little bit of a highlight as well. That would work, like, you know, chalk pastel-y type pencil. So if I can lift that up, can you see how that's the detail and that's coming out now?
I think that's beautiful, Sheena.
Well, thank you, Maria. You might end up on the wall. You never know. Yeah. So just continue with that. It is pretty, the monochrome, because you think that, you know, you need all the colours and you know that are available, and you really don't. You just, and it's a good exercise to do, because it's like when you at school, you know, when they had you just doing a pencil sketch, because what you're learning is like the tonal value without getting bogged down in the colour. You know, like working in black and white basically is your black and white telly, isn't it? Those old black and white films looked stunning.
And you had the knobs to turn up the contrast.
Exactly.
And the brightness.
Yeah, best thing was watching the snooker, wasn't it, when the black and white, yeah. So just going around, and then we'll put a little highlight and we'll get some colour in the background, and we'll use what you call a wet into wet effect for that. Now, I don't want it to be very strong colour, because I like this. It needs to be subtle. I want this guy, and I can continue. I think I would do a little bit more highlight with that. Oh, let's try that nib pen. Yeah. So I've got a couple. Let's try this narrow one. And what I'll do, it's easier if you can dip it in the bottle, but if I've got a scrap bit, let's use this bit. There's a bit, no, whatever, we'll do it down there. Oh, I've used the wrong colour. I thought I was picking up black. I've picked up red. Oh, you see what I mean about not being able to see the colours exactly. So, yeah, look at that. Can you see how fine that is? Look.
Wow.
Yeah, so those inks will also work as a, you know, with your nib pen, which is fab. Because then you can emphasise these little things even more and draw around them. Now, I'm not going to keep you here all day while I do this, but I want to do a couple just to show you how much better. And a nib pen like this, they're so cool. You know, a lot of amazing artists of the past used a traditional nib pen, and that's what gives it that really cool, scratchy, irregular kind of look. Just looks different to a micron pen. Micron pens are precise, and you always get that same kind of precision, I would say. Precise and precision would be the word, Maria.
It would.
Yeah, and but with a nib pen, it gives it a lot of character. So,
but going over that again now in black, those stamens are really standing out 3D.
Yeah, that's the difference. So again, the contrast, or just outlining. Put the white down first, because you don't want, if you do it the other way, it'll pick up the white, will pick up the black, and it'll go grey. You know, that of the ink. So make sure you pick that up first. If I show you those three, can you see how those three definitely have got more definition than that one even? Yeah. So we'll just continue wibbly wobbly on some little, so it looks like it's really got loads of shape and articulation, and that's exactly given me the effect I wanted it to do. So good choice, good call, good decision. And that's where playing you get to, it's like cooking. It's like, you know what not to add at what point, and you know, what will work together and what won't work together, and what order to do it in. And it's the same with this. The more you do it, the more you if you think ahead, you're gonna get more success. Yeah. So you can also, on this leaf, I can outline that gel and make the veins look more prominent.
It makes such a difference.
Isn't it massive? Look, see how much better that looks as well.
Wow.
Right, I'm not going to do too much more to it. That's it. I would continue with this. I could play with it. It sounds like Maria's liking it, so I better make sure it looks, you know, I do it justice. So I'll continue that, and but let you guys get on with your life. And if you want to see more of this, I'm more than happy to do more of this for you, if that's, you find it beneficial.
Well, I've got to ask you one thing.
Yes.
Sheena.
Yeah.
Are you going to give this away?
Well, I thought you wanted it, but we
well,
could give it away.
as much as I'd like it to go in the toilet.
Rude. That's horrible.
No, I think
you
somebody...
too, you can have it to go and put in your loo.
Ah. Yeah, why don't we leave it with Lou to choose somebody?
Yeah, for the blog thing. Yeah, let's do that as a giveaway. Why not?
For the blog hop.
Yeah, and I'll sign it and everything,
and finish it in your own time there.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'll just make sure it's I might not bother now if I'm giving it away. I was going to make sure it looked really good, but you know, just okay will do now.
Are you going to put spot colour in the background?
I am. I'm going to do that now. I don't know. I love that. I like the monochrome. What do you think?
I like it monochrome.
I like it monochrome.
Maybe next time.
Next time. Shall I show you a bit of wet to wet on this other one, how it would work if you wanted to do that?
Yeah.
So imagine I'll do like that monochrome. I'm going to say so, and I will sign it. Let me sign it, and then we're done with that, and then we'll do this with that. So let's sign it there. There you go. Signed, done, dusted. There you have it. Okay.
Beautiful.
And we'll do this other one just to show you how you would if you wanted to do a monochrome background. Well, the first thing you would do is get a big brush. So make sure it's dry. So let's do it around this bit. And even a large flat brush or an angle brush like this. And we're going to just put water on the background, lots of water like this, but not onto your petals if you don't want it to go there. So plenty of water, like that. Basically, the idea is the paint, the ink, whatever it is you're calling it, your watercolour inks, will not go anywhere where it's dry. They'll just wick where there's I can't remember what colour that is. It's blue. So we'll pop a little bit of blue in there, a bit there. And we can pop a little bit, let's see, a bit pinky colour in there. And then if you wanted to wick out a little bit more, you can just and that's how you do the wet into wet thing. So just drop the colour in, don't try and over mix it. We got purple. Where's the purple? This is where it's saying you need to really, it's blue again. You really need to you know, mark these colours so you know where they have some way of defining which colour you're using. Does that make sense?
You could write on your palette, couldn't you?
You could write on your palette. Maria was saying that. Just put like a buff for brown. Oh, but then there's buff for black. Maria, what are you going to do?
A rough for red.
Rough for red, yeah.
Blue.
Buff for brown, blue and black.
Oh, BK for black.
That's all that's falling down. Yeah.
BL
don't
for
bother.
blue.
Yeah, don't bother. Don't even bother painting. Just no bother now because of the butt. The butt was the problem. Right, so can you see how that's all diffused and gone all smudgy and smushy? That's how you do a wet into wet background if you want, but I kind of like, that would look really strong and psychedelic in the background, but I think that just looks too nice to just think we just leave that like that. But that's the technique if you wanted to do a diffused background and a strong kind of colour. Apparently I'm looking at you again. Right, I hope that's been beneficial to you. I hope you've enjoyed it. But before I go, I have to do one more thing. So we're going to let Lou choose somebody who we can send that to. But before I do, also, I want to show you what I'm passing on to the lovely Sam. Sam's going to play with the dolphins. She's swimming with the dolphins. So this is my blog hop exchange, and passing it on to the lovely Sam Calcott, who is, I want to see what she's going to do with these, because I know she's going to do something amazing with those fabulous kinetic cards, movement. My brain doesn't go as seriously. Even a gatefold's a challenge for me, and she knows that. So I can't wait to see that. I hope you've enjoyed that, and we'll see you next time. Cheers, everybody.